James Gunn just might be done with DC. He's down to a couple of movies, a few more opportunities after Peacemaker Season 2 turns out to have cratered in the ratings, only reaching number 16. Not overall, but in a subcategory of streaming. Today we'll tell you what that means for the Guardians of the Galaxy's director, who just might have directed DC into a disaster. Hello friends, hello fam, welcome back yet again. We're happy you're here on the Pro Channel, where we continue to explain entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do. Folks, as we dive in, click the like button and drop down in the comments below. Let us know, did you watch even a single episode of Peacemaker? And if you did you make it to the end? If so, you're unlike many out there, with very few people watching all of Season 2. Let's talk about what it will do to James Gunn on the run. Folks, continuing right along in the destruction of wokeism, take a look at this. It's from Mac, one of our favorite sources out there. Now it's known. 22% more households watched Peacemaker Season 2 premiere compared to Season 1. Hey, hooray! Looks like Superman was really doing a good thing for James Gunn, eh? And then it went south badly. 25% fewer households watched the Season 2 finale compared to Season 1. That's a 44% decline from premiere to finale. That is the absolute opposite of what you want to see, and it might be why there's not much talk, if any, of a Peacemaker Season 3. It's another casualty of the woke mind virus. This is by Marvin Montanaro on thatparkplace.com, the website that if you're not yet bookmarked, well, you should be. Peacemaker Season 2 suffers major ratings drop as nearly 40% of viewers tune out. James Gunn's Peacemaker Season 2 is facing serious audience erosion, with multiple analytics sources confirming a steep decline in ratings across the season. What began as a promising follow-up to the acclaimed first season quickly turned into one of the biggest rating slides for a DC property on streaming. According to Samba TV data, the Peacemaker Season 2 premiere initially outperformed Season 1 by 22%. You all saw that. We covered that. This is the problem, guys. This is the problem. And I'll scroll down in just a minute. Peacemaker Season 2, supposed to be capitalizing on the Superman success, or supposed success, a hard R-rated entry into a kids franchise. Folks, it took a major dive. Look at this. For the week of September 1st through 7th, not there on the Nielsen Top 10. And why is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's right here. Yeah. It says, despite solid anticipation going in, Peacemaker Season 2 failed to appear on the Nielsen Top 10 ratings for streaming originals at any point during its release window. Says that the series slipped to number 16, and not overall, among streaming originals. Only shows made specifically for streaming, the highest it ever got was 16. Culture, I go to you first on this one. James Gunn made Peacemaker Season 2 be commentary about our modern world and about political movements inside America, where he said that in the show, it's claimed that Yahtzee World, folks can figure out what that means, Yahtzee World inside the show is a lot like our own world. And that that Christians in Yahtzee World got along pretty well with the ideology. So culture, I can't think of a worse way to go into, into the DC universe than what James Gunn has done so far. And it's so bad that one movie and one show in, he's in danger of being done completely. And the rumors are heating up now. I don't think David Zaslav is happy. I don't think Warner Brothers is happy. I don't think the companies considering buying Warner Brothers are happy. Culture, how did this happen to James Gunn? How did he go this far off the rails?
He went political. Honestly, you remove entertainment the minute you dive headfirst into politics. And that's basically what he's done. He's never been known as the greatest truth teller in the world, but he sacrificed Superman's runtime in theaters and promotion budget so that he could have people focus in on this particular show, if you don't remember that particular push that he gave. So he did not do the best thing for Warner Brothers or even for the future of DC, by promoting something that many people in our circles have called rather perverted and undesirable to view. And again, as you pointed out, and I think Mac sent me those numbers earlier today that he'd compiled, when you see the fact that this thing collapsed so completely by the end, especially the last episode, you recognize that the power of streaming shows is nothing like it used to be for like the super channel movie channels like HBO used to be. There's not a lot of upside to catering to a very small audience. And I'm going to say this out loud. Gunn should have paid attention to what happened to Zach and recognized that this is exactly the same path he's trotting upon. And that's bad.
Vash, this is a monumental collapse. People didn't realize how bad it was for Peacemaker because it wasn't tracking. It didn't make the top 10, so it was hard to even see what it was doing. We knew it was bad, but a 44% drop from beginning to end, it's supposed to go the opposite direction.
Right. Yeah, it's always supposed to incline, right? So if you are seeing more people tuning into the second season than the first season, then you would like for that trend to actually incline. So maybe you have a 20% gain, maybe in, I don't know, episode 1 of season 2, but then by the finale, you're seeing like 35% or so gains, especially compared to that initial finale of that initial season. You have to think that there was a tremendous drop off here because of the content featured in the show. And from what I have heard and from what I understand, it just didn't appeal to a as wide of a market as I believe Warner Brothers was attempting to cast a net for when it came to this particular program and this particular programming. Look, it's just you when you take a brand like this, especially something connected to the comic book, you know, these comic book universes, you have to tread carefully. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't, have like your Blades, your Punishers, your more adult-oriented content. But when you start to feature specifically suggestive themes and so forth, some people, no matter if you've labeled the content correctly or not, might be taking a step back. And I think if handled improperly, that obviously happens, and perhaps
they Jimmy Kimmeled it, Vash. They Jimmy Kimmeled it. What they did is they took DC, and first of all, now Superman didn't go this far, but got it headed in that direction, and they went all the way with Peacemaker season 2. They Game of Thrones, whatever. They did that to it, right? Yeah, exactly. It's hard to put that into plural. They
right.
should have thought of that before saying it, but they put that level of gratuitous violence and language and risque, they put that into a kids franchise with DC, because ultimately your job is to sell backpacks and lunchboxes and action figures. Game of Thrones didn't do that. That wasn't what they were trying to do. DC is that, or at least it's a huge component of that. Not everything has to be pristine and sanguine and family friendly, but Superman surely does. And the show that you say links to Superman and then will launch us into the next one, that can't be, a hard R.
It's the linking that I think is particularly disturbing here, because I think James Gunn has pointed out to many, many times that Peacemaker, it integrates and incorporates itself into this side of the DC universe and so forth. So it's like, okay, if you have a child that wanted to know more about that particular character, what do you do?
Right.
As a parent, what do you do? And that's,
right. And if you say, well, it's not kids' content, it's like, well, why? Because there's a lot of money to be made from Superman stuff, like pajamas, T-shirts, boxes, figures, plushies, all that. And that's part of the job. So it makes no sense to turn Superman into something associated with hard R. But then they did something even more significant. So you might say, okay, well, that would reduce your audience by 70% because the kids are gone, right? And well, every good parent, is removing that from their kids' viewing. So 70% of your audience just evaporated by making DC be this way. Then you say, all right, well, of the 30% that remains, what if we took a strong cultural position and we called the critics racist, which is what James Gunn did? What if we do that? And what if we also put in religious messaging in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Let's put in religious messaging. The timing is just religious messaging that basically calls out all of Christendom as being associated with Yahtzees. Folks, I want to bring in a someone who is an expert in this field, who's been doing it for years and years and years on a channel that we owe so much gratitude to. From Midnight's Edge, please welcome Tom Connors. Tom, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing okay, I guess. How are you guys doing?
Having a better day than James Gunn. Tom, they're almost done already. What do you think? Like, where does this go with James Gunn? How much trouble is he in now that we've seen Peacemaker dropped more than 40% from the beginning to the end, dropped lower than season 1, did not track in the top 10 ever, and by the way, they never put Superman in it. That might have been a last-minute decision. What do you think? What do you think, Tom?
Well, here's the thing: is like I listened to some of the last part of what you said here, and I don't remember his quote directly calling anybody racist. Now, I watched the episode, and I feel like a lot of people. Now, I haven't seen the last episode, but I saw the episode that initially is in question. I didn't feel or see half the crap that a lot of people were feeding into it. So I don't totally disagree with what James is saying exactly, but I think it's more how he said it was the problem.
Let's go to what he said real quick,
like
Tom.
The actual quote is a little bit different than directly saying that people are racist.
So
right, like,
James Gunn, this is from Variety, October 3rd. James Gunn says, Rossists have called me polarizing after Peacemaker, the Yahtzee twist. He says, I'm okay with it and letting Rossists fall by the wayside. He's talking about people who didn't like that Yahtzee world was linked with Christianity and all this kind of stuff. And yeah,
I think it's more so what he's saying is if that's what you think, then that's part of the problem. I think because I didn't get this impression overall from it. And not only that, the whole thing that I had an issue with is either James is just that stupid or he's trying to make a statement with this character that we didn't see because he picked the most privileged character in the cast to try and say that the regular world is just like the Nazi world. So I don't understand what he's trying to say with this. Because if you think about it, she is the most privileged member in the cast. Her mother is Amanda Waller. Like, she can get away with anything. So I don't even know what she's talking about. It's even a surprise to her when she's walking down the street. So that doesn't even jive with it. And then the rest of the stuff I thought was really benign in comparison. So I think what James is reacting to is the reaction. And and honestly, I feel like some people did overreact to it a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you, and especially in our own circles. Here's specifically on this panel, but I will say that much.
Here's the James Gunn. Right. Here's the full James Gunn in context. He says, I really do whatever I want with Peacemaker. And I mean, in one respect, I do whatever I want with anything because I am able to make my own choices and I'm my own boss. But with Peacemaker, we really let it go. We take chances. We go to places where I think other people are afraid to go. We got a lot of pushback from various sources within the structure on this episode in particular. And we're like, let's not be bashful about this. Let's just do the story that we want to do. And I don't want to have to pull punches with it. He says, I have a few Rossists that call me polarizing, but I'm okay with being polarizing and letting Rossists fall to the wayside. People have loved this episode the most, so it's exciting. Listen. And remember, when he says that, they had to have known ratings were crashing. He says, listen, we're dealing with a very sensitive subject. We're dealing with Rossism, and at the same time, there's humor in this episode. And so you're dealing with something very delicate, and yet we're not being delicate about it. But I don't think we're not being delicate in a non-thoughtful way. We're being thoughtful about it. That is the way that he talks about the big Yahtzee reveal. Yeah.
And I see part of where you guys are coming from, but and the whole thing is like, I kind of see it as like, again, it's how he phrased it. And I'm not trying to defend him in any way, shape, or form because the show isn't doing that great. I don't disagree with you guys, but I also don't think they expect the show to be this thing. And I think a lot of people are misinterpreting what the show is supposed to be. Because like a lot of the Snyder fans, what they always liked about the DC universe is that they could get away with doing R-rated stuff. I mean, people forget that they did like the unrated cut of BVS or whatever and stuff like that. Like, I mean, so technically Superman has been in a harder than PG-13 movie already. But here's what they didn't want though, Tom. Well, Superman itself is PG-13 and stayed that way, and it probably will stay that way. And I think that's what he's saying about Peacemaker. And at least with Peacemaker so far as I can tell, you don't have to have seen Superman to get it. And it's not going to really lead into anything Superman, even though Peacemaker will show up at some point. I don't think it's that important. I think James knows that. And he had a lot of people tune in earlier on because they wanted to see if it was going to attach to Superman somehow. And a lot of those people didn't even watch the first season to begin with. So I don't know what's going on with the ratings wise, but I mean, the show has never been this juggernaut as Peacemaker.
What they didn't want to have happen, they didn't want, Culture, I'll let you wrap this one up for us. what they didn't want to have happen is come into a season 2 after Superman and somehow still underperform season 1 that happened before any of this stuff. They started off with a gratuitous display of sexuality, let's say, gratuitous, and fine, have at that. I'm not going to be a prude or say that you can't do that. But in this particular franchise, that may have brought ratings short term, but it seems to have run people away in the long term.
Well, I think a lot of people weren't aware of what Peacemaker was before. That's what I got from it. Like, because I'm sitting here going, like, I watched the first season. I don't see what everybody's griping about. This is the same crap we got the first season. Right. In fact, I thought this season was a little bit better than the first season, but that's just my opinion.
Well, because you had Superman fans, I believe, who said, "Oh, okay, well, maybe I like that movie. I'm going to go check out Peacemaker now and see what that's all about." And then they tuned in and said, "Whoa!"
And I feel a lot of people are also ignoring what's his face, the T-1000 guy, Robert Patrick's character in the show, because even though he's supposed to be this horrible person, he's actually one of the most decent people in Nazi world, and he's not even racist in that version, right? He's like the opposite of everything he was on the other Earth, but he's just going with the system, right? Like there's a lot of nuance in the episode that I feel like a lot of people were overlooking just so they could point at it and act like the whole thing was being racist. Like, you do realize that whole scene was a Body Snatchers parody, right? Like, I feel like people are over jumpy at this thing, and maybe it's just me. I just don't see what a lot of people are seeing in it. Like, I feel like if this would have come out 10 years ago, people would not even be saying this.
Well,
that's just my personal opinion. But over the other side of this thing, I have not heard one single rumor come from my camp that James Gunn is on the spigot or going to be fired or anything like that. Because like he just said, he runs DC Films. DC Films is its own separate thing, right? It's kind of like Kevin Feige over at Marvel. Like, if somebody else buys Warner Brothers and DC's a part of it, he's still technically in charge of that until his contract is up, right? Like that's just the way it works, unless somebody buys him out. So I know everybody thinks that David Ellison is going to come in and save Hollywood by firing David Zaslav, James Gunn, and Kurtzman, and even Kathleen Kennedy while he's at it, evidently, because that's what I'm looking at here going, where do these people think that this is going to happen? And I mean, the only reason people are interested in Warner Brothers right now is because they're hot, right? It's not because Superman's a failure. It's not because Peacemaker's a failure, if that's the case. And I don't even think Superman was that big of a failure. Now, Peacemaker, it's a TV show. And and that's what James is saying here, is it's like his little, playground where he can do whatever the hell he wants. He can't do that in Superman. That's what I'm getting from what he's saying there.
Was it true was it true that Superman was taken out of theaters early for Peacemaker?
Yes, and that was not his choice. See, that's another thing and he even said that. Because here's the thing, is he doesn't control the distribution part of things. He just controls making the movie, delivering it to Warner Brothers, and then they get to decide from there. See, and that's the same thing with Kevin Feige over at Marvel and Disney. It's the same exact situation. Same thing with Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars. The studio makes the decision on the distribution side of things and all that kind of business. That's why before we've always said that Kathleen Kennedy can greenlight Disney Plus shows until she's blue in the face. But to get a movie made, she has to go through the studio system. And that's why it's been so difficult for them to get a Star Wars movie going, besides her own baggage, right? She is the biggest part of the problem. Don't get me wrong. But when she's delivering crap and they're like, well, we don't want this crap. And Mando and Grogu is the only thing that's gotten through. I think that shows.
Well, that might change with the movie. Culture, get in here. Put on a bow on this for us.
And again, I'm not saying that this is in any great shape. I'm not disagreeing with you guys, but the one thing that people are overlooking with Superman is it overperformed domestically compared to other superhero films as of late. Nobody is bringing that part up about it. And I've even compared it to movies like F1, where I'm like, where is Superman not profitable, yet F1 is? And people come up with a bunch of excuses, but I'm like, no. Warner Brothers literally wrote a check for $200 million for F1, and they have to recoup that somehow. They didn't spend all their own money on Superman, right? So at the end of the day, both movies made the same amount of money. The only difference is the percentage foreignly and domestically is swapped, right? That's my whole point there. So at the end of the day, the only reason people are interested in Warner Brothers is because they're the only studio right now that's producing anything, and that's why Mike DeLuca and all these people are coming with the package. And I'm sure James Gunn is part of that package. Unless Ellison really wants to get rid of him, he has to buy him out of his contract, then, is my understanding.
All right, Culture, your thoughts on all of this, please.
Well, it's going to lead me to ask a question of you, Pro. So the information that, we were given this morning, how many viewers of season 1 did this show have? And then how many viewers did season 2? Because technically this is an HBO product, and I want to compare it to something like Game of Thrones, which was, stellar television for a lot of people. So, Pro, do you happen to know? I mean, even the viewership at the beginning of
So here's what we've got. Here's what we've got. According to Samba TV, 435,000 U.S. households watched the finale of Peacemaker Season 2 over its first 4 days, and you all know that it drops precipitously after that, okay? So 435,000. You might say maybe maybe it hit 500,000 then, maybe slightly over 500,000 households. It's difficult to quantify that beyond. Now, it's saying that is a 22% drop from Season 1's finale, so a 22% drop over that would be something like 600,000, 650,000, something like that.
Yeah.
Would be a 22% drop.
And Tom and I used to do math around this all the time. Samba only represents about 50% of viewership, right. So you just kind of double it up, and that'll give you kind of an idea what the viewership was on set top.
Right. What we do know is that according to Nielsen, the highest this show made it was 16 in a subcategory of original streaming shows.
Okay, but do we know how many viewers that is? Because I'm just curious. Because when you compare this show,
well, it's 435,000 in the first 4 days. That's what earns you being number 16 overall in a subcategory.
Okay, well, anyway,
you're asking how many viewers. But it's impossible. It's impossible because we would have to take the average number of viewers within a household, right, within any given household, and we don't have that. We don't have that data.
Right, but what we do have is how previous things performed on HBO. So, like for example, season 1 of Game of Thrones had 9.3 million people watching the show on average. By the time you get to season 3, it's grown to 14.4. You see what I'm saying? You experience, first of all, those are extraordinary numbers. Second, when you get to 14.4 million by season 3, that exploded. The show's popularity just blew up. And when you get to, season 8, which I would argue is probably one of the worst seasons of television ever made, it had 46 million viewers.
You have clearly forgotten about The Acolyte.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, but you understand my point is this is not demonstrating growth. This is demonstrating decline.
Now you got to have growth. You can't do a 40% negative swing after the kind of marketing you got off of a major movie. So that's the problem here. Now we can debate the artistry. We can debate the philosophical and societal winds of change and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, as has been since the beginning of time, it's about results, baby. It's about show me the money. And for Warner Brothers, and for whoever might buy Warner Brothers, James Gunn is going to have to very quickly start showing the money. It's not going to be enough to break even. Maybe for Superman, maybe it was impossible to break even, and maybe that was part of the strategy. But over time, he's got to deliver the deliverables, and that is bring in the views, bring in the ad revenue, bring in the ticket sales, bring in the cash. Pulling Hollyweird to the sensible center, the mainstream middle where money is made is not easy, but folks, you make it easy to make videos each and every day because sharing time with you is a great honor and we never take it lightly. An attitude of gratitude every single time we have the chance to shine with you. Until the next time, we only ask that you click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, don't worry about paying any kind of tuition for this free class and how entertainment works. You are on scholarship. Highest IQ on the internet, that's you for sure. Until the next time we have the opportunity to spend time together, folks, we just ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun. Jump into the water!
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.